Okay, having a look at this tank wash. We was out a couple of weeks ago, and it kept doing the complete wash cycle. Time ago, and it'd start again. And we found the push button was shorted out, so it was effective, like somebody was holding the button in. And it was also taking in too much water. So we put a new level sensor on there, which is just this little bit here. Screws on the top of that tube. And it's playing up again now. It's filling up with too much water to the point where it's coming out the overflow. So it should really only come up to where that tide mark is, where the plastic's gone a bit darker from the chemical. So what we're going to do, I think, is take it all apart. And it screws in there. It's got a seal. We put some sealant in there. I think we put a rubber O-ring. So I'm going to take that apart, clean it up, and reseal it. Because if the air's bleeding out around that tube, it won't develop enough pressure for the switch to work. We'll try that, and if it doesn't work, we'll have to try a new switch on there. Okay, well there we go. I've just gone to take that off, and it's snapped off. So you can only say there's been some cock up here with the person tightening that up. Has either done it up too tight, or we did a belts and braces. Normally they just had a sealant on there, and I stuck an O-ring on there. I suppose the other thing it could be is if that sealant was reacted with the O-ring and made it swell up a bit, it might have stressed that plastic too much. I've never seen that. I mean, that's how the old ones fail, because they have a nut on there from the factory, and when they were new they used to leave the nut on there and it'd go rusty, and the rust would jack it up a bit and snap the plastic off. Oh well, at least we found something. So there we go. Okay, got the new switch on there. I just let it click. It's going to click because it's got too much water in it. So that timer should go round, then the pump should start. It's got a load of milky water in there, so we'll let it pump this around and dump it on the floor just to give the tank a rinse, and then we'll set the wash back at the start and start it proper. And we'll put the hose back on properly. We swapped the hot and cold hose around so we didn't waste all the hot water testing the hot fill. So we've just filled it with cold just to prove that level sensor. So we'll swap them two pipes back over. Okay, that's just filled up to that level, and I heard that click. So now the timer's going round, and the pump will start, and then sometimes it will then just fill for another few seconds. But that should click in a minute, and then the pump will start up. A little bit more water going in. Sometimes it just fills a little bit more until that does another click. So that's it's done a cold rinse to waste to get the milky residue out. This is a hot fill to warm the tank up and get any more milky residue out. And then it'll do hot and chemical, and that's a longer thing. Then it does a cold rinse to waste and a cold fill, and recirculate to cool it down and rinse the chemical out. So yeah, simply I either over tightened it, or we had an issue that O-ring might not have been a good idea, and maybe it swelled up a bit and just cracked the plastic. That one I've just barely done it, it's just until it bottomed out. It might be I think the stuff I use to put the thread sealant is good for ABS, plastic and PVC, which I'd assume that is either ABS or PVC, so that should be okay. But the original ones, the factory ones, use that leak lock stuff, which I'm not a fan of. Although it probably obviously works well on these, but I don't like it for refrigeration work. But, anyway, each to their own. If we've got any more issues, I'll have to get some of that leak lock and use that instead, I think. Or maybe just go with the O-ring. Anyway, seems to be working.